Hey Shooby Doodlers, in this video I'm going to show you how to draw a wedding buttonhole like you have on your lapel. You can see that I've been doing some practice sketches. You're going to need a pen and a pencil, probably an eraser at some point, and some watercolours and a brush. I'll tell you more about those later, but let's not talk about it. Let's do it. I've put a help sheet on my website. You'll find the link down below. Okay, I'm going to start by just drawing very gently, don't press too hard, a circle. So it's going to be roughly kind of the size of the rose. This is Seawhite watercolour paper, which you'll find links down below. I've drawn a little rectangle around just to help me frame it. Don't press too hard with your pencil. If you press hard, you grind the graphite into the paper and it's really hard to erase it later. This is a traditional pen and ink kind of style thing, and I'm using a Rotring Tikky graphic pen. This is a pigment pen, which means that once it's dry I can just paint over it, which is great. Now I'm going to start down here and kind of draw a wiggly line flicking off there, and if you flick at the end you're going to get a little sharp point. Okay, and then let's just come just slightly above it, and then we'll do the kind of furry kind of edge that you get on a rose like that, but you're also going to get a little bit of it coming in underneath from there. And then from here we're going to get another, oh that's a very heavy line. I can sort of caught the edge of the pen bit there. That's the trouble with pen and ink. You're not quite sure what it's going to do, so let's bring that around, and then kind of that can just whiz out there as well, and we'll bring that down there. So this is like the base of the rose, and then we're going to want a little bit coming up there and another bit that's going to come around kind of like that. Roses are impossible to do, of course, and this being pen and ink as well, you know, it's quite a heavy sort of unsubtle kind of thing, a pen, isn't it? Black ink pen. Then you know you can't get all that real subtlety in there. I'm just going to do something like that, and then we'll bring a little bit of sort of a curve of the rose coming in there now, I think, and then we'll have that coming around there. Now if you're going to find this really difficult, I'm going to put on my website, I'm going to put a copy sheet so that you can trace it if you're finding it really difficult to draw, because I know I've drawn this, like I said, you know, like I showed you 2-3 times now, and it's not easy. So you know, practice makes perfect, like I always say. Practice, practice, practice. Keep drawing. And why am I doing this? That's another thing. I was thinking, what am I going to do for a video this week? And well, my daughter is getting married, and so I've been thinking a lot about flowers and buttonholes and things like that. I think that's going to do it there. So for almost a year now, then we've been planning what to grow in the garden, and hang on, I'm just going to do it right. So we want to do nice kind of loopy kind of leaf like that, sort of coming down to there. And I think if you put these sort of mid ribs of the leaf in first, then that gives you something to work at, and a direction to aim at. Then that's going to want to sort of come out there, and then maybe another bit down there, and we could maybe have a little something there, and then we need to have some gypsophilia, some people call it gypsophilia, I think. So we'll have that here. Baby breath, you might know it. I think that's baby breath always works really nicely in a buttonhole, because it just sort of sticks out like little sort of fireworks. And so I've not been growing this. My daughter has, but I think it has flowered too early. That has been a really difficult thing, working out. Planting things late, sowing seeds late in the hope that they will flower later in the season. And I think I've got some of them right. So I've got let me show you. I've got Cosmos, And sweet peas, which I grow on canes in a traditional kind of way, but they've reached the top of the cane, so I had to bring them down to the bottom of the cane and restart them. And I hope they're going to be flowering in time again. The theme is yellow, white and blue, so I've got some blue nigella loving a mist, which is just about to flower, and I timed that really well. And also I've got these bright yellow zinnias, so and then hopefully there'll be some other stuff around the garden that we can bring in. Now we're going to want some kind of stalks in here as well, like that. And maybe we could have another like that. There. And then we're going to want to have the taped bit like that coming down there, so that's sort of all taped around, and that's the bit that you pin onto your lapel. It looks a bit like a shrimp tail, doesn't it? You want to let that dry for a moment before you erase it, which means we can have a quick little advert break. Welcome back. While I'm doing this, also you can click down there and make sure you're subscribed to the Shoo Rayner drawing channel for lots more drawing videos every week. I am going to be doing lots more pen and ink kind of work now, and sort of traditional illustration. So how are we going to start? This is a really difficult thing to do, a white rose. I want to get a slight hint of creaminess in there. So this is a Cotman watercolour set, except I've swapped out the white for Naples yellow. I don't think white is of any use in watercolour myself, and I've upgraded my cadmium yellow here as well. Naples yellow is this kind of creamy colour. So I'm going to sort of paint either side of the under bits there, and then under there too, and so that we leave the kind of the middle part white. Now this is a water brush. The water is in the handle. It flows through the pen. This is not the usual kind of brush, I suppose, that most people use, but I've just got so used to using it. It's really good for sketching because you can just take it out and use it. And it's just basically it's the one brush that I use all the time. I'm going to put a little bit more sort of creaminess in these areas, but not all over, because I want it to be a white rose with this kind of creamy tinge. Now we're going to need a green, so I can't remember the names of these greens. I can't remember the names of my children sometimes. I know this one's sap green, and I'm just sort of mixing those greens together a bit. Maybe a bit more sap green, and maybe a little bit of yellow, and I hate doing that because now my yellow is kind of turned into a green, isn't it? But I'm just going to paint these in. Just get a kind of a grounding coating. So I know whenever I talk about watercolour, I always say that the thing about it is it's not really painting. I think of it sort of as drawing with light, really, and it's like the white of the paper is the light, and you're drawing these tones, these hues, colours over the top as fine transparencies, and the light of the paper is shining through. So you don't want thick paint. That is painting. This is watercolour painting, which is very different. And think of it more as drawing rather than painting. Painting is dabbing colour on. This is letting light come through. You have to really twist your head around to understand it. But I know people always think that, watercolour's for kids, isn't it? Because it's nice and easy to clean, and but it's not at all. It's watercolour's a very subtle medium, and not easy at all. And a lot of painters, sort of who paint with, paint will shy away, and you talk about watercolour to them. Oh no, they don't want to know because it's too difficult. It's much easier just to splash on paint. and you can always scrape it away and splash some more on later. But watercolour, you need to get it right first, and that really involves a lot of practice. And that's not a problem because it's such a relaxing, enjoyable thing to do that it shouldn't really be a hassle having to practice watercolour. So I'm adding a little bit of Prussian blue. This is. I'm just going to sort of darken up around where that leaf is coming out from underneath, so it's kind of shaded, and I'm using the Prussian blue just to darken it up and add the shade like that. And we can do the same down here. And this is again, like I said, you know, it's a very rose is a very subtle thing, and I think if I really wanted to make it really look like a rose, then I would do it in pencil or something, very, very fine lines that you couldn't see. But this is pen and ink, so that's what it is. It is what it is. And then we're going to want something darkish down here as well, I think. So I'm going to get more of this dark green and going to sort of hide that in there. And I think I'm going to add a little bit of Van Dyke brown in there. I think it's I don't know what it is. It's one of the browns. It could be dark sepia or something like that. Just in there, just to get a bit of shade in there as well. So sepia is quite a good, or Van Dyke brown or something is quite good also for getting sort of shade and stuff in there as well, and just sort of altering the green really. We can maybe put some little sort of shape and shade in there like that as well. I'm not sure about that, but it's a bit unsubtle. So if you clean the brush, always have a bit of kitchen towel with you and clean the brush, then it means you can just dab on water and kind of move the colour around and thin it out a little bit. Then we're going to want quite a sort of a manufactured colour kind of green for this sort of tape that they use, you know, that florist's tape. And then we'll try and sort of bring that down a little bit more like that. There, and I think we're going to want to make it a little darker on one side. So I'm just dropping that little bit of darker colour in there like that. It's getting there, isn't it? I'm going to just clean that up and get some blue. So that's French ultramarine, that, which is the first sort of sky bluey kind of. No, just that's too much. So I'll clean the brush and come back again. So I'm just putting little dabs of blue in there just to give it a bit of shape, and maybe a little bit on each side like that. We're going to want again that kind of yellow, more sort of acid green for the stalks for the chip on there like that. And then we're going to want some shading going into the flower. So I'm going to get some French ultramarine and the sepia. So now that's still a bit blue, a bit more sepia, and that will make it a kind of a grey like that. I'm going to start off with a bit down there and a bit down there. Clean my brush. And then, oh, that's not clean enough because my the kitchen towel is disgustingly dirty as well. So have a little bit of that, and just pick up a little bit on the tip of that, and we'll have a bit of shade underneath there. Clean the brush and then just fade it out. We don't want it to. We don't want any sort of hard shadows on this rose. It needs to be really nice and soft. And then we're going to want some in there. I have to twist the brush around to get the point, so I have a little bit in there. And I think we'll want some underneath there. And again, a bit sort of under there. I think we'll need a bit more in there. So it's building up the shadow. And probably a bit around the back there as well, like that. I think we need a little bit of green on the stalks there. And then we're going to want to have a bit of shadow on the ground. And I think that needs to be slightly more bluey. So the thing about, I think those who watch me often know that I have often use another colour called neutral tint, which I'm going to put a bit of Prussian blue in there, like that. So I often use this other colour called neutral tint for these greys, but I'm sort of trying to behave myself and just use the colours that come in this set. This is the Cotman watercolour set. You find all the links down below from Amazon, and you know, if you follow those links, then I'll get a little referral fee, but you won't pay any extra, so don't worry about that. They'll be helping me to run this show and keep teaching you for free. So I'm going to put that in there, clean my brush quickly, and then start. Clean. I'm going to get another piece of kitchen towel because I can't see if it's clean. Now you can see there that I've got rid of the colour, and then I'm going to start just adding water and letting it kind of flow into the water to get this soft shadow. Okay, clean the brush, and then that will go into a soft shadow underneath there, which helps to bring the rose forward as well, I think, a bit. And then I think we'll have a little bit sort of out here, and that will sort of go something like that. And then the really difficult bit, the really difficult bit is knowing when to stop. So I'm just going to make this a little bit darker in those kind of crevices, the really dark bits there. And I think also we need a kind of a hint of I probably wish I hadn't done that now. Just the tiniest sort of hint of green in there as well, I think. Let's give it the sort of oh, that's too much. That's too much. That's too. If you're in doubt, dab it like that and dab the colour off. And I think just taking a tiny bit on the point of the brush, because I don't want too much. I'm just going to stick a little bit of green right on the edge like that, on the top there, and maybe, so I'm wanting that kind of fresh green, and then just washing it out again. I think that should be a bit darker in there, maybe. Like I say, the difficult bit is knowing when to stop, and I think that is the point. Stop. Thanks for watching. Make sure you are subscribed to the Shoo Rayner drawing channel and keep coming back for lots more drawing videos every week. In the meantime, keep drawing, practice, and I'll see you next time. You take care now. Bye-bye.